sure if we're still live right now. All right, so we got. All right, so it look like we're back. Look like we're good. Okay, man, that just threw me off my whole little game, whatever. But let me just make sure we're good
That's
on both
crazy.
ends. Okay. Anyhow, Satan is not gonna win. We're gonna get this word out. Okay,
Amen.
so anyhow, I was like, how do you know how you know you saved? And the reality of it is when you find yourself like realizing, or at least for me anyway, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, I started realizing back when I was sinning and living my way and doing what I wanted to do, I had the mentality of I was a good person. I took care of my bills. I wasn't going to
Hmm.
jail. I wasn't doing whatever. But once I became saved and God started changing me, I started realizing that I was a sinner and bad, and I really needed Christ. So going back to jail point, it's like once I knew that, and once God started transforming me and changing me, I'm very transparent with it. Even the stuff that I'm still working on, like my anger and stuff, I'll be open about it, because it. If I'm transparent on it and I'm saying here's what I need help on, it's just like
Yeah.
Jill said with that domino effect. Somebody else is gonna be like, "Oh, you went through that? I'm going through that now. Well, how did you get through it?" And this and that. Now they're gonna confess their sins. We can pray together and they can get healing. But if I'm coming on
Right.
this whole high and mighty righteous, I got it all together type of thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
not gonna even feel comfortable with talking to me and sharing it with me. And then like going back to the whole light and dark keeping the secret thing, like to me,
Yeah.
if you're still keeping something a secret, you're not ready to give it up. You're not
Yeah.
ready you're not. And so like
Yeah.
if I got an issue with lust and I share it with my brothers and
Hmm.
I confess with them and they're praying for me, and if I start going back down that path, they can hold me accountable. But if I'm
That's
keeping
right.
that to myself,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing with
Yeah.
Judas. Like, believe it or not, like I believe Jesus. The reason why he even had Judas around was giving him this opportunity, the opportunity to kind of get it right. And so, if
Yeah.
you look at Peter, he denied Jesus 3 times, and that was his. You know what I'm saying? That was his boy. And Judas
Right.
betrayed him. But the difference is Peter ended up repenting and following, and Judas went off and
Yeah.
killed himself. And so the
That's
reality of it
right.
is, if y'all don't get nothing else from this devotional, really, if you make a mistake, if you mess up, Jesus already know about it. He's ready and willing to forgive
Hmm.
you. Just go
That's
to
right.
him. Don't start going further away just because you messed up. So
That's
yeah,
right.
That's right. That's
Amen.
so right.
Amen.
yeah,
You
all
Draw
better
right.
closer.
preach.
Yeah, man. I don't know what was going on with the internet, but I was like, nah, we're gonna get this thing out.
Hey,
We're gonna get it out.
come on now.
Oh.
The
Yeah.
doors of the church is open. Amen.
Well, speaking of which, let's go ahead and get to our last segment. We got 8 minutes before the hour, and so
Oh,
here
eight
we.
minutes.
I know,
Oh no.
and listen. Listen, guys. I told y'all last week I'm gonna keep us on time, so let's do it. All right, so Ali is on you.
All right. What is that?
Can
Can
you
you
read
make
it?
that big? Yeah,
I
make that bigger for. Can you make it
let's.
bigger for me?
I think I can. Give me 1 second so I don't mess around and press the wrong thing.
All
There we
right.
go.
If
All right,
not,
is that good?
okay. So questions that Christians ask on social media, and here's this week's question: why did Jesus have to die on the cross to save us from sin? Why not save us another way? Also, if Jesus is God in human form, how can he die? And God is meant to be eternal, right? Let's sound off.
All
What's
right.
happening here? That's a
I,
lot.
yeah, it's a lot.
That's a whole.
That is a
So,
lot,
That's
man.
like
For
this
eight
week,
minutes.
next week. That's like three different episodes right there.
yeah,
That is.
they threw a
Like,
lot. They threw a lot in there. They threw a lot in there. So
Wow.
man.
so
Woo!
so I'll let y'all go first. I'll be a gentleman. If
That's like
nobody
that's
want to
like
go,
2 minutes per person, man.
that's like, hey, go ahead. Hey, give me what you got. What you got? You want to go first,
Oh
Jel?
my
Why did Jesus have to
gosh.
die on the cross? Anybody want to take a stab at? Y'all know I got a book. I already
You
got my answer. So
because he was willing to do something that we're not willing to do.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, like we as a people had a debt that we weren't willing to pay. And he stepped forward and said, you know what?
Mm,
I will do this for you so you don't
Mm,
have to worry about it.
mhm.
I'm gonna just make everything happen so God can forgive everything that's going on. So us as stubborn people, there's no way. I know there's no way I would be like, hey, I'm gonna die for y'all today. Um, like that's not it. That's not me. So this man just Jesus just stood up and took one for everyone. You know what I mean? So that's why
Yeah.
he died for us, so we can be where we are today. So
Yeah, yeah. So they were saying like, okay, well, why couldn't they do it another way? Like, why couldn't he save? You know what I'm saying? Why death, right? And so I got my few points, but again, I wanna get like this is all my notes.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's my notes on it. So if you can see, as you can see how
Come on,
I
Rico.
definitely did a little study. But I'm
Wanna
gonna
get
give y'all.
started there, man?
Rico said, I got something for y'all. I got something.
Listen, y'all. Which is why this is why I go last. This is why I go last. So that way, if somebody say something I already said, then I don't like steal somebody's thunder or
You know
whatever.
what? We only got about 5 or 6 more minutes, so just
Just
take
do
it
it.
from
Go ahead and
here,
take
Rico.
it.
Exactly.
All right.
Just
Take
do
it,
it.
Just
brother.
do it.
All right, let me go.
Just do it.
Let me get in my notes. So first and foremost, like, let me go here. I don't even want my face that big. Carrie said, "Great question."
Oh my gosh.
It's too much laughter and stuff going in the background. It don't need to be just me. I need the world to see it ain't just me.
He says this. Look, I get that people want to know. I understand that because these are Octavius. These are actual people that are asking these questions. Like these are
Yeah.
not made up. We can't make these questions up.
Yeah.
So these are not made up questions. This is like real, actual people asking these. So
Yeah.
that's a lot. So yeah. Let's go, Rico.
Okay. All right. So
Let's go.
All right. So let me go ahead and just I'm gonna be looking down at my notes for the sake of time. All right. So I can remember what I want to say. But this particular question, we can also ask the same thing about the Old Testament. It's like, why did God require animal sacrifice and blood sacrifice? And so here's the reason why, or at least my exhaustive study on the reason why. First and foremost, we all know that when Adam and Eve sinned, that God told them that the price of sin is death. Matter of fact, soon as they sinned and they were naked, God had to kill an animal to cover them. And again, I think right there, even in the beginning, that's a foretelling of how the blood is gonna cover us, how the blood is gonna atone for us, right? And so that just jumped off right from the beginning. That's where death came in. So then when you go into like the Old Testament, you look at and you see that in order for them to eat, God is perfect. We are not. God cannot allow unholy people or unperfect people to be in his presence. Matter of fact, it'll kill us to be in his presence. So in order for us to be in his presence, there has to be that blood covering sacrifice of an innocent animal or lamb or whatever. And so this is what they would do back in the old days. Or back in the Old Testament time before Jesus. And so if they wanted to even be close to him, they had to be killed. And so I believe our God is a loving God, and he didn't want to have to keep killing all the animals. And then so he was implementing these things in place to bring, even before we even did, again, we can't surprise God. So he knew Adam and Eve was going to sin even before they did it. And this plan was already implemented that our one and final sacrifice, this is where Jesus come in, our one and final blood sacrifice would be Jesus. And now here's the thing. God is a just judge, and he cannot ignore sin. He has to punish that sin. And again, that payment for that is death. That's like me if I go to court for a speeding ticket, right? And I'm actually guilty, and the judge can't just legally just let me go, right? He would be an unjust judge. But if somebody came in and paid on my behalf, paid the fine, then that could, he could justice is served, if you will. And so it's the same thing with Jesus. Jesus was a perfect, innocent being, God in the flesh, God and man or whatever. But he came in to pay that payment, to pay that debt. And so the reality, spotless, I have to put spotless in there. And so the reality of it is that that was God's, we will never know why God made that the way. God could do anything he want. He could have done, he could have had a million different ways to save us. But the reality of it is that Adam and Eve's punishment was death, was blood. That was the payment for them sinning. And so the only way to repay that, God was like, you know what? man is never going to get it right. So I'm going to come down there myself and, in the flesh, do what they cannot do, and then
Yeah.
sacrifice and make that payment for them. And so that's
Yeah.
just, that's what it is. And so when we get to heaven, we'll find out all the mysteries and all the secrets, but it's been this way even before Jesus came. They were killing those animals for the blood covering to cover their sins. And I had a couple Bible verses here. It says, let me see real quick. There was Jesus. So one I talk about in Philippians 2, verse 5 through 11, how Jesus gave up his divinity. So a lot of people try to say that he ain't God or whatever, but he gave up his divinity, came down here so he could be man and make that payment for us. And then it says in Hebrews 9, let's see if I can find it real quick. It's kind of small. It's a long one, but basically, it just says, not with the blood of goats and cows, but his own blood he entered the most holy place for all. And so that's like the very short version of it. But again, Jesus replaced that sacrificial system that we were doing in the past, and that's ultimately why. Y'all have any final thoughts y'all want to throw in there?
Yeah, I wanted to just add, I mean, he could have died a quick death, but he did go through that sacrifice also for the healing of our bodies and just our overall healing, mental and physical, right, and emotional. So it could have been a quick death, but he also took that on. That's why his body was broken for our healing. So it's not just about he just covered the whole thing, our well-being and also the life after death.
Yeah.
So,
well, and another thing you actually made me remember, Jel, is that because let me see if I can go back to that go back to that piece in the question. Where's the scene? They also said Jesus is God in human form. How can he die? God is meant to be eternal, right? And so one thing that we forget is that this earth, what we're doing here is temporary. If we really believe in God, then we know there's an eternity. God did not die. 3 days later, he resurrected. Death could not defeat him. And so the reality of it is, again, there we go, looking at things from the physical instead of the spiritual. And so when we stop worrying about the things of this world and start worrying about the things of God's kingdom, then we know that God's not dead. He's risen. He's alive.
Right.
And and he's in eternity, which is our proof and our evidence that we will also be resurrected with him and live in eternity in the kingdom. And so that's all part of the good news. And so God didn't die. Jesus didn't die. He's alive and very active. Matter of fact, the Holy Spirit lives in all of us.
Yes,
that's
amen.
right. That's so good, man. It just brings back to that. It just brings back the circle into, what I had also mentioned earlier about how, if we don't know the rules of the game, if we're not familiar with it, we can't win. And so Jesus had to die a certain type of death to fulfill some of the laws, to fulfill some of those prophecies, and not to break any of the laws. He was still in fulfillment of it. And so he was still under the law, so to speak, and just to fulfill that, and then broke some of the barriers where, okay, death is just not there. It doesn't stop here because I am above authority. I am above death. So he was like, okay, I'm taking my keys. I have the keys of death and Hades. So that was really cool.
Amen. And look, Carrie said really good sermon, just like that background. Yeah, that's the green screen. That's the green screen back there. The green screen got me looking like I'm living large. But listen, guys, hey, that's the show for today. I really appreciate everybody who stuck with us through those technical difficulties, and I really appreciate my brother Octavius coming on and sharing his talent with us. And man, we appreciate you, brother. We really do. And with that, really Octavius, I hope they told you that when we come out, we do our little dance, and you already performing. At least we didn't ask you to be in a penguin suit this time.
We gotta see that penguin dance again, man.
Yeah,
we gotta do it.
But they're not gonna let you lay that penguin down. Go ahead, Allie.
Hey, have any of your students seen that? Have any of your students seen?
No. God
Hey.
has not placed that in
Where
my
are your
heart.
students at? Where are your students at?
Oh man, we
gotta
got
hit them up
we
on
got to get them a
Instagram.
link. We got to get them a link to the show. We got to get them a link to the show.
Seriously.
Oh my
Mr.
God.
Womack.
Oh
They keep
man,
finding everything. They find everything. I'm sure they'll see it eventually.
man, they'll get it. They'll get it. Hey,
Right, they probably seen it and just haven't said anything and been like, oh my
oh no, they'll
God.
say something. I was teaching
That is
it.
something we just don't want to resurrect.
Man, listen, I was teaching at the University of Georgia, right?
That's a
And
good
so
one, Allie.
a lot of people don't know. I was in a rap group. I had a rap group. We were doing our thing, whatever. And it's like, and then when I became an officer in the Air Force, like I tried to like bury that,
See, I
don't
need to
show it,
find that.
don't do.
See, that's
And
what
one of
I
my
need to
cadets,
find.
one of
Yeah,
my
we gotta
cadets
find that.
came to my office and he was like, "Hey, Captain Lane, have you ever heard of this rap group called Southern?" I ain't gonna even say the name.
What is it? What's it called, man? What's
This
it
joker
called?
found me on there and he like bought it. Like, man, it was crazy. So trust me, Octavius, if they come across it, they gonna let you know.
Oh yeah.
They ain't gonna keep that
I'm
to
gonna
themselves.
give them all zeros.
Give them all zero. All right, y'all. Listen, thank everybody who checked with us. Come back next Friday. Hopefully next Friday. Pray for me. I'm gonna try. I'm traveling, guys. So next Friday is kind of up in the air. Hopefully we'll be able to do it. But if we're not here, if we don't do a full-fledged show, I'll at least hop on my phone, say what's up to all the viewers and see how y'all doing or whatever. But again, we're in the middle of traveling, but we appreciate y'all for rocking with us. We appreciate y'all for coming back. And if you found value, hit the like button, subscribe, share it with somebody. Check out Octavius and his band. Support my sisters in their ministries. Dave should be back next week if we go live. And with that, that is the show. Let's go ahead and dance this thing on.